Oh god, QuakeCon happened, and we need a Quake thing. Quick, Machine Games, do a Quake thing. Do a Doom thing and then gut your staff. But Civvie, you didn't make a video on the Ancient Gods. I got to the penultimate fight at Tag 2, finished that, realized I needed a shave and also the game's soft lock, so I never actually went back to beat the Dark Lord or whatever. I'll take this shame to my grave. That and I could have pulled him up. He didn't have to die. But really, not finishing Tag 2 was the thing that got me a ticket to hell. It's what I feel most guilty about, so I am definitely gonna finish both of these new expansions, one of which is for a classic game. They dropped a surprise new Quake episode for QuakeCon. 30 years of Quake! I'm not sure I could fill an entire video with what I think about Doom the Dark Ages DLC or Quake's new episode, Dawn of the Machine, but what if I put them both together and had a video where two id properties got two DLCs that both pissed me off in exactly the same way, but are otherwise peak shit? Like, have you used this thing? Oh my god! Yeah, slice through that fucking meatball. I wanted to save some of my bits about those layoffs for this video because, man, you know they laid off Mike Maynard? Yeah, Jam Productions, Blake Stone, industry veteran who's been a senior id tech programmer since Doom 2016, someone who is so good at programming that he helped make a game that was mostly stable on fucking LithTech 1. A lot of words have been written about Doom the Dark Ages Revelations and how it's amazing and one of the best things id has ever put out. And yeah, okay, I guess, who am I to argue with the evidence? Revelation starts off kinda underwhelming. Probably because I'm getting back into the game. I haven't played Dark Ages in a minute, so everything's going well. The Slayer's clearing a path through hell to get somewhere, as he does. Spawning vats are working overtime. I start off on Ultra Violence and switch to Hurt Me Plenty around, let's call it the middle of the DLC. You'll see what I mean later. I remember how much I love this game's plasma guns and how much I hate the Agadon Hunter. I really hate the Agadon Hunter. And it would be a shame if they made you fight one every 10 minutes or so. Fucker. I hate him, but eventually you get used to it. The Agadon Brute Champion that's here to filter out the weak at the end of this first level hurt me bad, though. The Demon High Council wants to parlay because they can't have this Doom guy running around killing everything.
The Slayer, the Sentinel's champion, has journeyed a great distance.
Yeah, and?
To kill you, my lords.
There we go.
We see your pain. The sins of your past give you no power here.
Only a cleansed soul may leave this chamber.
You wasted your life, human. The Council has chosen. Beneath this chamber will be your tomb.
The Doom Slayer reacts as you'd expect. The High Council sort of tinkerbells that Hell Priest into this disgusting thing. I'm gonna miss the id animators who got laid off. I hope they end up making Cronenberg horrors for a publisher that appreciates them. Of course, this is bullshit because you can't win. The Slayer has to take a dive because he has unresolved trauma. No, seriously. You'd never know that about a man who spends his eternal existence brutally murdering demons after they decimated his planet, who has said maybe 10 words in this series and most of them were about violence. Why are you trapping him, you fools? He's just going to murder all the trauma! Guess what? Your armor and shield are broken, but a creepy lurking presence that sounds conspicuously like Samuel Hayden finds you and gives you this spear. And you slash and chop and dodge and realize pretty fast that if you want to block projectiles, you gotta be a lot quicker on the draw than with the shield because there's a delay in the swing. The spear lets you dodge, and if timed right, execute a perfect dodge. It can be a little disorienting because as long as you hit that parry window, it doesn't matter if you dodge towards an attack. It isn't quite as awe-inspiring as it is later with upgrades. It still slashes way farther than you think it does. Unlocking the stab is great, but my favorite upgrade is the one that rips those cloaked enemies out of their bullshit, closely followed by the meat hook swing around in the air like a maniac and dive bomb upgrade. Armor breaking is especially satisfying, as is slicing through lines of monsters because one of them has an overcharged shield and just... Slayer comes back and he's like, here, you want to have a nibble? You want a snack, Spider Hayden?
3 stones, each of which exact a price.
The best way to describe him here is Hell's disgruntled civil engineer. Here is Purgatory, the main hub for the DLC. From here you can access Hell's Core, Osseous, and the standout Chasm of Zalgaroth. A level so fucking cool I can't believe it's in a DLC. I mean, all the levels are pretty because of id Tech and the sheer talent of the devs. It's so weird to see the raw power of a AAA studio put towards something as purely action-focused as Doom. We were lucky to get 10 years of this, kids. Alright, I said I'd talk about the Archvile, so here we go. The Archvile is back. Again. He's continuing his streak of being an absolute dick about everything. 32 years he's been at this. Instead of lighting you on fire, he has so many more ways to torment you. Filling the whole arena with projectiles, shielding himself, zapping around like a goddamn hummingbird. He spawns monsters, they're just red. They still drop health, so at least he makes it a little easier for us. So when you do finally... Oh, yeah. There are a few new enemies scattered throughout. Buzzsaw is probably the hardest to deal with aside from the Archvile, but whatever, that's cool. He's fun, I like him. We're looking at the evolution of the Doom dance, kids. One that's a little fast for me these days, but goddamn is it fun. I think I had more fun with this than Dark Ages in parts. Yeah, I like being able to dash. Things get a lot more complicated when you get your shield back. Now you've got to swap between the two, or just go with the shield, because the shield makes things easier. Use the spear if you want it to play more like Doom Eternal, and I know you do, you maniac. Hell's Core, the first level you go into, is cool as fuck. Thank you, Brutal Sky Fairy. Remember that Star War they had with the red planet covered in snow? We got one here too, and it doesn't set up a bunch of stuff that the creators are going to run away from later out of cowardice. And it's more of, I can't believe id Tech looks like this. I mean, it doesn't run great at 4K for me, but that's because I have a 4060 Ti, which is what I could get at the time, so please don't bully me about it. What am I going to do, buy another one? Katie, shut up, you don't know anything about graphics cards. God damn it. The levels are divided up into arenas and puzzles. The puzzles are fine, they're not bad or really that difficult. Now, most of the DLC is intense combat with increasingly tough swarms. Mostly what you've seen before in the Dark Ages. So you get to have awesome fights in amazingly detailed locations. We need to talk about the lore though, you know, the story itself, because it's all over the place. I can't throw a rock without getting a codex entry about how that rock was once the capstone to a great monument to Baphomet's balls. But because we're on a mission to resolve the Doomslayer's trauma through violence, between each level we get a flashback where it's just Flynn motherfucking Taggart blasting through a hospital on Earth with a shotgun he really should have kept.
I'm at the site.
He's Doom Marine in the flashbacks. Here's the spoiler tag, kids. And for those of you who are only listening while you scroll on your phone doing something else, the Department of Special Corrections has devised a way to alert you with only sound. When you hear this sound...
Spoilers incoming.
That means we're doing spoilers. Okay,
Spoilers incoming.
I was not expecting for Revelations to actually contain revelations. The subtitle Revelations has been used in series for decades, and they never deliver. Not Hellraiser, not Assassin's Creed, not the Bible. So this guy, Lieutenant Joshua Weems, who lives down to that ugly-ass name, has a problem with one Corporal Flynn Taggart. Yes, they're just saying it now. This is no longer an Easter egg. The Doom novel gave him a name and we're running with it. It's half of a cool-ass name, I guess. The flashbacks are of The Incident, the one that sent Corporal Flynn Taggart on a path towards the Phobos base in the original game after he struck a superior officer who, in the brief text of Doom's manual, you could tell probably deserved it. Here, he definitely deserved it. So January 10th, 2046, Flynn Taggart walks into a hospital and plants explosives. Except, see, he wasn't told that there were civilians inside who needed to be evacuated, and so... And then Weems decides to change the report that the Doom Marine submitted, which is a weird fucking thing to have to come out of my mouth. Weems puts all the blame on our boy. Weems has been trying to get him court-martialed for at least a month, and the higher-ups at the military are like, "Are you sure? He keeps doing awesome shit." But Weems is like, "Don't make me tell my daddy, the director of military intelligence, about this." And so he doesn't get court-martialed, he gets sent for psychological evaluation because they're not going to toss him out of the army. It says, per his demand, he was not given a behavioral therapy dog, but a rabbit that he'd previously bonded with. 3 entries in this codex fill this massive void with all of this stuff. Like, I want to be skeptical and say, why is this here? Why am I not just doing demon murder? But nah, it doesn't feel cynical. This is the thing the Doomslayer has to face before he can go back and fuck everyone's shit up. It works. It's flashbacks and a few codex entries you can skip. It slightly humanizes a character and closes the book on a part of the story that hasn't really been explored beyond a few lines of text over 30 years ago. The fact that it bookends it so nicely is bittersweet. We may never see it at full power again. There is a sense of finality to this that may or may not have been intentional. With all of that out of the way, let's talk about the actual plot, the one where Conmaker's back on her bullshit. We only get to see her do it when we find new bodies in Purgatory. She started big. Here's King Novik of the Night Sentinels.
With the Slayer gone, have you not found peace? The demons, they have retreated. Their war is with him. If we leave him, there could be more than just peace. Prosperity. I have been assured.
By demons? You've been assured by demons? Conmaker takes control of Marek, one of the Night Sentinels whose name I did not remember. Oh, nope, he's right there waiting for us. I hate him. He makes me turn the difficulty down to hurt me plenty. He's fast as fuck, and he will force you to use the shield, so you better be used to switching by now. This DLC made me fall in love with the Impaler all over again. Marek brings back the dogs. He sure has a lot of patterns to learn in 2 phases he breaks up with a lore dump.
He knew the Slayer was responsible for his death. And you saw it. He comes now for you. He brings the Horde.
The higher-ups fucking over the Doomslayer when they have really terrible ideas seems to be a running theme. I'm sure we can't extrapolate that to anything happening now. No, fuck off! Get out of my demon fighting game!
Useless.
But the architect saves us and gives us the coolest fucking cutscene in the DLC. He forges the Praetor suit and fuses those 3 fucking stones I just collected into it. No more trauma, Flynn, so they can't send you back there. Maintaining mental health in service of demon murder. And so we return to Argent Nur, a supposedly dead man trapped in purgatory. Your ass walks in with a shiny new suit, a spear, and the king's axe. Conmaker is so fucking jealous of the fit, she is so mad. We can do telepathic visions now, so Thera sees how her father died.
All squads, execute Plan Ash.
Plan Ash, as described in the Codex, is when every maker is considered to be an enemy. So...
cannot be defeated, but it can be controlled.
She's gonna get it. Oh, she's gonna fucking get it. But look who's back. Oh, we're about to wreck this guy and show him who made a breakthrough in therapy. They're all drama queens who need 2 phases, aren't they? I just love slapping some health out of it. Get melted with plasma, spear to the chest. Coming in and pulling Mega Man X bullshit on me at the start. Fuck you!
The time for politics is over! Reject the Makers and their ways, now and forever! It is by blood we will survive. Now stand behind your courage! Stand behind him!
I think we've kind of wrapped up the whole Doom 2016 Eternal Dark Ages timeline here. You know, but also... I haven't really finished this, because there's time trials and ridiculous fights and classic levels to play. So yeah, I haven't finished this yet because I found out what the final boss is. It's a big pain elemental, and I'm not that interested in fighting it. Eventually I will, probably. When I gold rank all these tight time trials, I don't know. I did finish a few of the harder fights in all of the classic levels. See, you collect artifacts throughout the game, they give you currency for upgrades, and you get different post-game currency for better upgrades, but you're assembling something else too if you finish those classic levels. We've got underhalls. How many times am I going to count the same goddamn level? We've got Nirvana, the Focus, and the Waste Tunnels. You're stuck using only this new weapon you used in the flashbacks, the 93 shotgun. And if you complete all the classic levels, you get to take it home with you and use it whenever as a super weapon that's equipped like the BFC. And you might not think it's a super weapon, but the Codex tells us that it fires 4-gauge shells, and it sure looks like it does. So, no, I haven't finished this yet. I don't really want it to end. This might be the last pure, uncut Doom we get, and we should treasure it. I'm not crazy about locking the final boss behind all those hoops, but what's the chance that they do something like that again? Machine Games is back with their 3rd Quake expansion in 10 years, releasing Dimension of the Past for the 20th anniversary, Dimension of the Machine for the 25th, and now Dawn of the Machine for the 30th. And I wasn't ready. Like, Dimension of the Past is a cool little expansion, one made before Bethesda's port, and so it wasn't even technically official until 2021. Dimension of the Machine was an even bigger deal, and the maps were even more lavish and impressive. So now, 5 years after that, I boot this up and find this start map. I make it a point to find the nightmare exit first before I start playing, and imagine my surprise when I made this jump on a chain for a key, then moved to the other side to open that door, and it's the hard skill portal. The nightmare portal requires you to get a biosuit and swim. This should clue you in to how weird this is gonna get.
You are drained after roaming the dimensions in an endless search for a way home. Finally, some hope. Rumors speak of a nightmare machine trapping you inside of a world of eternal horror. Regain your strength and find the secret runes of power.
They mean regain your strength because you start with a max of 50 HP. And not just on Nightmare. In fact, I started again on Nightmare because I wondered if the 50 HP cap was still enforced, and nope. So I keep going and travel through some of the most beautiful, atmospheric, punishing Quake levels I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Yeah, it annoyed me that I had to keep finding and collecting severed heads to increase my health and that they're mostly in secrets. You don't just have to pick up upgrades for health. Backpacks are scattered around that upgrade your ammo capacity, because you start with about half of what you normally have. 50 shells, 100 nails. By the end of the expansion, if you've hunted secrets properly, you'll easily have more than Quake originally let you carry. But now enemies don't drop any ammo anymore. No rockets from ogres, shells from grunts, or cells from enforcers. I can see why they did this, because they put so many fucking enforcers in. The Machine Games episodes have a very specific design philosophy, and this is boxes. Boxes fucking everywhere, going back to dimensions of the past. It took me a few levels to get into this. You start on the back foot. The first level isn't easy, and the game is trying to fuck with you as much as possible. Okay, so killing the past non-zombie selves didn't erase the present zombies. If you were looking for something that leans into the surreal, haunting nature of vanilla Quake, oh kids, Dawn of the Machine is here for you. I'm wondering over here, as soon as I find these doors, what is the Rune of Sacrifice and why don't I have it? Why can't I find it in this level? This suggests that I'm going to be coming back here. Dawn of the All-Mother, level 2, another door like that right at the start. I'm starting to worry. The difficulty's climbing fast. Get used to seeing the words "this opens from the other side" or "this door is opened elsewhere." Most are. There's an uneasy feeling that came over me playing this because it was forcing me to play a very differently balanced Quake. I'm used to getting more ammo. Nuking backpack drops and your carrying capacity means your ammo supply isn't a constant like in the base game. You think you know Quake? Nah, kids, this is a nightmare. What the fuck? So enemies can secretly be other enemies underneath the skin. My least favorite are the knights who turn into zombies. Fuck that. Rocket ammo isn't handed out like Halloween candy here, so there are times where I have no rockets to deal with unexpected zombies. You don't even have time to realize this has happened. Another door already opened with monsters behind it, and they just keep coming. This is level 2, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't happy. I hated this episode until later. Early on, it felt like I was playing these beautiful levels that had undercooked enemy encounters. Allow me to use a quad rampage to demonstrate. In these early levels, you will walk into rooms and find a bunch of the same monster hanging out, sitting there in predictable groups to blast through. Mostly the same enemies. There's a new ogre variant that shoots rockets. And then I get more desperate. This arena has 4 Death Knights and every single one turns into a fiend. I hated it. I was livid. But you know what? Enemies don't do this all the time. They only do it all the time here, so that every level after this you're going to be paranoid about it. And I was. And I'm really not used to Quake mods psychologically manipulating me like this, and I'm a little proud of Machine Games. There are still doors I can't open yet. Rune of Sacrifice, right, so I move on. The next map, Into the Abyss of Time, looks no easier from the enemy and secrets count. These are like Arcane Dimensions levels if they were a bit less unwieldy, a bit smaller and tighter. This one is full of environmental traps, and it's when the combat starts to change, where it feels more intentional, Like the fights are starting to become smarter. Like instead of walking into a room full of enemies, I walk into a room with one enemy and the rest rush in to flank me. Shit. Bizarrely, the time travel comes into play again, and it feels like there's an alternative version of most of this level that takes place in the past. Or the future, I can't really tell. The laser gun from Scourge of Armagon is back, with a much cooler and more fitting model. I use it because Chthon is back. From the amount of times I see Quake mods with either reskinned Quake enemies or Hexen 2 enemies, I assume that working with the ugly low-poly vertex animated Quake meshes must be awful. Oh, Dawn of the Machine, you shouldn't have. They've booby-trapped the dogs. The dogs are booby-trapped! I vainly look for more secrets. I fail. I move to the next level. The one where everything starts to click. The moodiest tech base I've ever seen, where nothing attacks you for the longest stretch ever in a Quake game. This feels like an Aliens mod. Yup. Oh god. This episode wants you to be scared and desperate and paranoid, and I realize now that the simple encounters and being able to blast through them was bait. And now the trap's been sprung. The lowest of low enemies, the dog, has become a goddamn kamikaze. Any enemy you fight could suddenly turn into one that's 3 times as strong. So exploration becomes riskier. Secrets become more vast, take up more of your time. If you go the wrong way through this teleporter, you end up in an abandoned structure in a watery void. Finding a health upgrade. Monsters seem to appear from nowhere. Not in the cheap teleport kind of way, but in the I had no idea they were lurking kind of way. I could laugh off the idea of a nightmare machine as hokey sci-fi junk, until I realized that I was, in fact, trapped. This is the worst place I've been yet, and I know as soon as I find that rune I'm gonna have to come back here. I spent the last level hoping a Vor or a Shambler might break up the monotony. I misunderstood. The first Shambler hits me after 2 fiends leap at me from the dark. I've descended into some kind of dig site. 1 Shambler turns into 1 more, turns into 2 before I know it. My lack of surprise at the encounters in the earlier levels made me too trusting. Progression itself becomes impossible to chart because here I go into a secret that leads me into the grave in a dark fog of monsters, and another door that requires a rune of sacrifice. Nothing works like old Quake, not exactly. Enemies can, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes a Shambler spawns directly on the exit slip gate. Am I even traveling dimensions through that? The next level raises that question too, of shattered minds, and it's a fusion of castle and tech. It's actually quite hard to make a Quake encounter that escalates and feels organic. See, the level has to teleport them in from somewhere, at least that's how basic Quake maps worked, and Dawn of the Machine adds, turning up heat with each new encounter, making them last longer. I bumble into the secret level exit without much trouble, but I want to see the regular one. Big mistake. The exit is guarded by an uncountable number of Shamblers and Death Knights who take turns chasing you around this platform, only to be faced at the end by some kind of super Shambler. Wait, no! Ugh, Fine, let me reload and go to the secret level. The worst map in this episode because it's a gimmick map. The Haunted Tower is the designers having fun with the silent instant teleports they've been using to simulate time jumps. I find that the last room reinforces the idea of a broken nightmare, getting closer to the exit portal only to be forced back and have more obstacles placed in your way. Not since the original Quake has the design felt evil, like there was a malicious intelligence behind it. And his name was John Romero. I'm kidding, we all know it was Sandy. We escape into Requiem, the most intricately designed level yet, full of tight areas woven through a larger structure. As beautiful as any Quake level, every fight becomes more frantic, more monsters coming out of the woodwork to surprise you. And then the last fight of the level gives you a quad damage. It feels like we're escalating, like the episode is gearing up for something final. You'd think the Matriarch of Decay would be a boss level, and it is not. Neither is the next one, the stunningly beautiful Revelation of the Arcane. Guess what? This one has a real revelation too. Behind the walls is a tech base. Let it never be said that this episode places quad damage power-ups badly. For someone who's been playing Quake for 30 years, let me tell you, the feeling of paranoia and uncertainty doesn't hit me in the base game anymore. It didn't hit in the expansions, but it hits here harder than ever before. This gauntlet leads you to the sacrifice, where I hope I can find that rune of sacrifice that I've seen so much about. Fucking finally! And that's when the trap really shuts on you. You need 4 runes, and you have to go back through the maps you already played grouped into sections. You start at the beginning of each section, so if there's something you need down the line, you gotta play through the levels again. This time with tougher enemy placement and secret passages and paths through it that might make it easier for you to traverse. Or maybe not, who knows? You're stuck in this nightmare dimension until you can find more levels. Oh yeah, there's 3 more levels to discover and find runes in, and they're just as good. Were the levels not moody enough for you? Try Mist of Torment. Spawns bouncing through the foggy woods trying to kill you? Remember that big fight in Veils of the Old Ones with the rune door at the end? Takes you to House of Delusion. Each portal in the new hub will take you somewhere to get another rune until you have 4 of them and have played each of the levels about twice. Okay, so I've had to play a bunch of awesome Quake levels twice. They replaced the monsters to be more difficult the second time around, sure, okay. I've got new places to go, new secrets to find, I'm having fun. The 4 runes spawn a monster encounter inside of the hub, which is a new one, and you'll have to beat it every time you re-enter with all the runes. Okay, fine. But now it's time for the final part, right, where we destroy the Nightmare Machine. Honestly, the Nightmare Machine, it's a big fucking sewer. A couple of levels are pretty sewer heavy that I haven't counted, so... Something feels off, too easy. At least until I get to the final level and realize that most of it is spent on borrowed time in lava suits while I walk across the slag and fight the boss across it. Chthon is back. Super Chthon. It's harder, sure. Teleports you into a room full of spawns in the middle, which is pretty mean. And what do we have here? A horde of knights that turn into zombies that I guess are fucking fireproof. More annoying than difficult.
You did it! With the power of the runes, you destroyed the nightmare machine and banished the cosmic forces of Chthon. The illusionary veil of your prison begins to fade. The mist clears. You feel the warmth of a new dawn.
That sure sounds like a happy ending. Sure sounds like it. But hey, what if... What if they made you jump through a bunch of fucking hoops to see the real final boss? And that boss was also a reskin of an existing monster made tougher. Well, I wouldn't know about that because I haven't finished it. I mean, I did get here because the level select allows me to, and I no-clipped because I didn't have the runes anymore. Shubby's over here with 1 billion health and no animations or sound to telegraph or bullshit instant kill lightning strike? Nah, you think I'm gonna go through Bloody Nightmare for this? That would be its own video and I'd call it Pro Getting Roasted in the Comments. I'll cop to not being good enough at Dark Ages, but this is Quake. See, to unlock this expansion's secrets, it wants you to feel pain. Understandable, I've seen that before. Problem is, I'd have no idea what I was supposed to do unless I looked it up. So in the level of Shattered Minds, you have to collect both keys, not use them, find a secret with a rune door behind it, activate Bloody Nightmare mode, and then finish the episode with it. Bloody Nightmare is, as you'd expect, like Nightmare, but worse. You start every level with nothing but your shotgun, so that's already a fucking horror show. Not having a rocket launcher for at least half of the Nightmare machine is awful. It's getting another sewer count because I had to play it again and it's worse. The final boss of the episode is still Chthon, right? But since I'm playing on Bloody Nightmare and not hard, he seems to have a health pool roughly the size of Mount fucking Everest, and I barely, after a lot of frustration in navigating this bullet hell again, scrape by. The text shows up, but not the credits. No, it spits me back into the first level again with nothing, and instead of giving me a nice health boost at the beginning, I get the bloody shotgun, which is the regular shotgun but fast. I assume because shells are plentiful and there's too much bullshit going on to rely on your nails, rockets, or cells. The plentiful enforcers now fire 2 lasers at a time because fuck you. Enforcers become the worst thing to deal with and the first level is full of them. So guess what, kids? I didn't finish this one either. It's fine, right? I got having to play through the same levels twice, but 4 times? In the face of this kind of masochism? Nah, I'm not rushing to finish either of these. There's no reward at the end of a Quake expansion worth the frustration. But Civvie, you like Metroidvanias. Yeah, because most Metroidvanias make sweet, passionate love to me while this is angrily hate-fucking me. This isn't a criticism. If anything, I'm kind of amazed they were able to make Quake as oppressive as it felt when it came out. The black, hollow soul of it. The thing that made it not just brown doom. God help me, I think we can credit Sandy Peterson, the Lovecraft nerd, for all that stuff. I hope that I can give this compliment to Sandy Peterson and that I won't look at a nearby screen and see him doing dumb shit.
This is the Doom SOL, I'm Sandy Peterson, and so what happens is that you actually earn money while you're playing it, like you can get points.
Somehow 2 id games get 2 expansion packs that are made separately, with breathtaking design, and then at the end they whack you in the nuts with a hammer and say, sorry, but you haven't finished this until you hate playing it. Rude. Both of these expansions are a flex, designed by people at the height of their power. You thought you knew Doom? You thought you knew Quake? Nah, we're turning them into semi-Metroidvanias and locking the tiny tidbits of lore you're desperate for behind pain. Suck it down.